SMT Nation, we are back. Nation, the election results are in, and we know who our next president is going to be. We know that there's going to be administrative changes. One of the areas where I'm looking to kind of monitor these changes is at the FCC. The reason why I made this video is because the FCC influences and impacts a lot of what we cover here on the channel. Cellular networks, mobile network operators, home broadband. The FCC has their hands in all of it. They regulate it. So with that being said, with President-elect Donald Trump winning the election, all the results are in. We kind of know now that there's probably going to be some changes. I want to discuss that here in today's video. I'm going to go ahead and kind of look at it from a few angles. Follow along, drop me a comment at any point to kind of give me your take, your opinion, your projection, predictions, whatever you want to call them. I'm looking forward to read what you guys have to say. All right, so for starters, with a Trump win, I think inevitably there's going to be modifications, changes, and kind of some switching with respect to the BEAD program. All right, funding in dollars for specific network builders. To this point, there has been a lot of BEAD funding made available, but we haven't seen the execution. So what's referred to as Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, we've seen a lot of money go into this program. There have been some red tape issues, some policy issues in regards to justification and execution of the bill. I've discussed this on a couple different occasions. I think there are changes coming this way. So whether it's for building fiber, whether it's cable operators building that fiber and wire line, whether it's for fixed wireless access providers, enterprise, cell towers, it doesn't matter. There's huge investment in place to shore up connectivity within rural America, get the entire country connected, places that are underserved or not served. There's all these things. I think satellite comes to mind as well. I think with Elon Musk, and let's not pretend like this isn't a thing, the connectivity to President-elect Donald Trump, that's a thing. And I don't want to turn this into some crazy political argument in the comment section. That wasn't my intention with this. But there clearly is vested interest in satellite operations, not just SpaceX and Starlink, but there's ASTS. There's all these other companies. So there's fiber builders. I think there's also fixed wireless builders and then satellite builders. And the BEAD dollars all involved in all of this, right? All right, so we'll continue to monitor this and see what changes. But, what happens with the NTIA and, where it goes from here. Do we get positive momentum? Do we get changes that allow these companies to build better and bigger? I think that's what a new administration will want to do. All right, so we'll see how this plays out. I'm monitoring that situation very closely. All right, now pivoting over to more policy in the FCC specifically. With a second term for current President-elect Donald Trump, a Republican majority-based FCC, this would be a switch of 5 commissioners. When we look at kind of, I guess, the Biden administration, they spent a majority of the term with 4. They didn't even have 5. Why they didn't have 5, I couldn't tell you, honestly. And they were led by Jessica Rosenworcel, a Democratic leader, right, as the chairwoman. And I'll be honest with you guys, now that we have 4 years to look back and evaluate, this was a bad 4-year administration for the FCC. They accomplished little to nothing. They had their spectrum authority taken from them. They were unable to make timely decisions. I mean, there were so many issues. And I was critical of the FCC in the previous administration. This one was actually worse. And I didn't think it could get worse. But it was. We're going to see changes at the FCC. And I think what's very encouraging is actually current Commissioner Brendan Carr, who I think is actually in a position to probably become the leader, the chair of the commission. And I don't think that would be a bad thing necessarily. I think he has been an advocate for the industry to move forward. I think he has done enough in terms of indications that he would be good for the position. So I think that coming down the pipeline makes sense, at least as a candidate. If not, I think he's the likely favorite. And he probably is the right person for the job. And you might argue that and think, this should go in a different direction. I respect that. I don't mind. I just think that he's had the right position in terms of leading the industry forward and doing what's better for the American public. He's been very critical of the BEAD operations. He's been very critical about stagnation within the industry due to problems with the FAA and the Department of Transportation. I mean, he really has advocated for a better FCC and operations. So I think he's the right man for the job. But we'll see. All right. So we'll see what happens there with the FCC leadership and how it gets executed. And I think the last thing, and this is the elephant in the room, is spectrum. What's going to happen with a spectrum pipeline? Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, they need more spectrum. They need more bandwidth to build their networks. And that lack of a spectrum pipeline is alarming. The patrons and the YouTube members know where I stand on this because I've made videos on this on that platform. And I've made this very clear. If you don't have a spectrum pipeline that is at least 5 to 10 years down the line, you are failing to be prepared for the future. These carriers are building mobile networks for today's growth, future growth. They are now also building for fixed wireless access, for 5G home internet, and we see the customer satisfaction in that particular segment, right, for that service. They are going to need more bandwidth. And whether it's Brendan Carr at the helm of the FCC or it's somebody else, whatever the case may be, we are going to need more spectrum. And I think we have to avoid situations like CBRS, where I don't think it was executed properly. We have to avoid situations where you have like the FAA problems with C-band. We need to do this right. We need leadership that I think is in tap with technology and leadership and at the forefront, getting past some of these small squabbles and making good decisions that are going to catapult the U.S. competitively across the globe. It sucks not being the best when you know you have the potential to be the best. That's how I view the United States when it comes to connectivity and technology. So I expect a huge move towards freeing up spectrum, making it available in a timely fashion, in an efficient fashion, in a way that doesn't waste time, in a way that is less reactive and more proactive. Whenever you have an administrative change, these things can happen. It must be executed. I hope the FCC can jointly, whether it's Democrat, Republican, I don't care about the partisan angle, to work together to get results. We need a good FCC. We don't need a divided one. We don't need a bad one. We've seen divided. We've seen poor execution. We've seen the bad ones. We need a good one. We need a bounce back. We need a better set of 4 years from the FCC. How do you guys think they should play it? What do you think about the way the exiting version of the FCC looks and the potential for the new one? What do you want to see from these people? Sound off in the comment section below. You're the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.